This painting was made using only 2 colors plus black and white, and no, they do not include blue or green. Can you guess the 2 colors? In this video, I'm going to share one of the best ways to study color context, which is painting with limited palettes instead of going full spectrum right off the bat. So to explain how I mix this green without blue, let me start with some context and show you the most ambitious color chart I've ever created. This here is my really big color chart. This took me about 40 to 60 hours to paint. I painted this manually using oil paints as a way to understand how to mix color. You can mix the same color using different colors. And that's also kind of cool, right? So I think I want to show green because I don't actually even own greens anymore. Let me get my gouache set out. Okay, so gouache is just an opaque watercolor. So I want to show you some interesting palettes. So I'm going to take out my essential colors and then we'll try adding to them. So with these specific primaries, I should be able to mix any color, okay? Say I want to mix this green. Would you start with your yellow or would you start with your blue? So in this case, yellow is a lot weaker than blue, right? So it depends on how much I'm mixing. So if I'm just mixing like a swatch or something, right? I would probably start off with my yellow and then I would look at how much blue I'm actually using, just like a little tiny bit. So I'm using the 2 brightest colors that I have to get this green. So you can see that this green is slightly warmer than this one, right? Watch what happens when I add white to this green. It's a lot cooler. But if I wanted to keep the intensity of the green, I would just add more yellow to it. Let's say you're painting something natural and you have a green and then you add white to it to lighten it up, and then what happens to it? It doesn't look natural anymore, right? Like this doesn't look natural. This looks somewhat natural. So the more white that you add to a color that already has yellow in it, you have to add more yellow to adjust for it. If I wanted to mix this green, which is very unnatural, I would put more of this blue into it. And it looks like that green that I have is slightly cooler, so I would add a little bit of white. There's my greens. I want to show you a really cool way of mixing greens. Okay, so if I take my yellow and then if I tint it with black, it actually makes a beautiful green. So this green may not look very bright, but it's very natural. I had one of those like mind-blowing moments when my painting teacher was like, you don't need blue to mix green. And my head exploded. I was like, what? Okay, so those are 2 shades of green. You can see that they were mixed with black. Here's how to make it look more green. If I took the opposite color and I put this red right next to the green, that looks a lot more green, right? And typically if you're using a really saturated red like this and you're trying to do like a complementary palette, you don't want to use like both super bright colors because then it kind of looks like Christmas. I recommend make one color more saturated and then the other color less saturated. Or you can use more of one color and less of the other color. So now look at that green. Before, this green looked quite a bit duller than this green did. But now they almost look like the same green. Once I put that red on there, it makes this green look so much more green. Pretty cool. You can help support our mission to make art education easily accessible for everyone. Become a Wing Canvas member on Patreon or YouTube and get special perks like classes and critiques. So why don't I show you some of my gouache artwork and then I can tell you my approach for mixing them. So believe it or not, there is 0 green in this painting. If your brain just exploded, welcome to being an art nerd and realizing that you do not need blue to mix greens. This is a Zorn palette. Basically, these greens were mixed with these exact colors. So it was black and my primary yellow. Just color context.
Yes, I am a color wizard. I love that term. I am like obsessed with the Zorn palette, so I have a few videos on it. I have a skin tone tutorial where I painted Oprah in the Zorn palette. You can see like you can get very, very realistic skin tones by just using red, yellow, black, and white. Which yellows and which reds do you say? It doesn't really matter. You can experiment. Basically, if you use a primary red and a primary yellow, you have the largest range of color. Let's say that your red is like a cadmium red, which has yellow in it, and let's say you're using a yellow that has reds in it, right? You're gonna get slightly less range with your colors, okay? But it doesn't really matter. As long as it's a yellow and a red, you can use the Zorn palette. But you can see like the purple of the Zorn palette is just a dark red, but it, in context of everything, right, it still looks purple. This is a gray, but like our eyes can trick us and think, oh, well, this is red, so that must be green. Right? So if you look at this side of the color wheel where all the blues are, it's actually just grays. But it makes a wonderful, wonderful skin palette. These are some color balls that I painted in an art mentorship class. We were studying portraiture. Basically, we translated that into some studies of a face, right? And you can see this skin tone, it's got like the cool on one side and warm on the other side, which gives it dimension without too much of a value shift, which is really cool.
Have you tried using a limited palette like the Zorn? Let me know your favorite palettes in the comments below. I'm always looking for different ones to try. And if you want to learn more about color, check out our color theory playlist and additional resources in the description of this video. Join a virtual art class in seconds and learn live from Wing Canvas instructors. Enjoy weekly assignments, individual guidance, and real-time feedback on your artwork so you can create like a fearless illustrator. If you learned something new, please like and share this with a fellow art nerd. If you love receiving quality and free arts education, subscribe. Here's a couple other videos you can check out next.